Four on the Floor, brought to you by Citywide
Where are we
Banks.
going now? Do we have some guy that claims to be standing on the moon or something?
I think that was the best TV since you worked with Stephen A. Actually.
Four on the Floor, brought to you by Citywide Banks. 4
And
questions,
Skip.
20 seconds each. When the bell goes off, stop talking. Question number 1.
Okay.
Who impressed you? Give me a name. Somebody who impressed you in last night's preseason games.
Jay Cutler, he didn't play. Or he barely played. Jimmy Clausen. Can I give you Jimmy Clausen?
Sure, give me Jimmy Clausen.
Jimmy Clausen. And I think that our good friend John Fox isn't 100% sold on Jay Cutler. So
He wouldn't be the only one in Chicago not sold on Jay Cutler.
Who impressed me? Who impressed you in last night's exhibition game?
Yeah.
I don't call it by that other name. Mike McCarthy,
Green Bay head coach.
who has turned over the
Play calling.
play calling to the former Notre Dame quarterback, one of your
Tom
idols,
Clements.
Tom Clements. Yeah, thank you. I'm getting there.
Sure.
But Mike McCarthy went for it on 4th down 3 times in the first quarter and failed all 3 times, and I loved it. I wanted to see that. They were going for 2 in that game, so I was not impressed. There's not one player that impressed me last night. I'm sorry, I didn't watch the Detroit game. I can't imagine why anybody watched Detroit and Washington. Didn't they play? New York Jets.
Who they played.
New York Jets.
Well, look, Amir Abdullah
watched-
is low-hanging fruit. The Nebraska running back, he looked
Yeah.
really good for Detroit last night. I saw Jonas
How'd you watch
Gray.
that game? What game?
Did
What
you see
channel
the
was
New
that
England
game
Gray?
on?
Well, I was on NFL Network, so they kept going back and forth the games.
Well, I
but
was on
Jonas
the
Gray
NFL Network, too.
of New England ripped off a nice 55-yard run.
Yeah,
I was
well,
impressed by
yeah,
that.
he's a
Other than
slug.
that,
He's a
it's hard,
slug,
so
though.
hard to watch these games. Second question. Mets, Cubs. Who you got to get to the World Series? Who's going to be in the World
That's a good
Series
question.
first?
Take that one, Mark.
are those my only 2 choices?
Those are your only 2 choices.
Mets,
Of those-
definitely.
Of those two, who has the best
better
chance
chance.
to get to the
Okay,
World Series?
Mets for sure because
Wow.
the regular season's about pitching and the postseason's more about pitching.
Yes.
Ooh.
I'm with you. New York
I'm
Mets.
going to say the Cubs. And
Yes.
you go, well, the Mets have a lot better pitching. Have you found out that the Mets pitchers are all on a pitch count and they're about to reach it?
Really?
Did you know that?
I learned something. Thank you, Woody.
180 innings. And they are all
So
around
they're on the
140.
Strasburg system then.
Absolutely. They may not get to pitch in the postseason because they have a hard, firm pitch innings count for them this year.
Do you think the Cubs are capable of getting to the World Series?
The question is, who's got a
I
better
know,
chance
but
going?
it's my follow-up.
I love Joe Madden. I love
I do
how
too.
he's handling that team.
He'd be the first guy I'd hire to
They
manage.
are, because the guy asked me the other day at a table, said, "Can a manager make a difference in baseball?" I said, "I give you Joe Madden." He is with that young talent. What he's doing, I think they have a very legitimate chance to get to the World Series. Their pitching is iffy.
They've got John Lester, and they've got Arrieta, and then just a bunch of schmoes.
Three days worth of rain.
Yeah. All right,
That's what you hope
third
for.
question.
That Mets thing is going to get greasy. We're going to talk about that a lot more.
All right, if the Rockies lose more than 90 games this year, and I think it's inevitable, they're 19 games under 500 right now, does Dick Monfort fire himself and hire a real president?
You take it.
Boy, I saw a little progress. The fact that he's allowing Jeff Bridich to actually trade Troy Tulowitzki, maybe Dick Monfort is getting to the point where he realizes things are not working in their present state, and he goes out and hires somebody. But I'm still going to say no. I'm going to say no. He will not do that.
What's John Gray's debut here? And Dick was sitting there by himself in that seat that's right behind first base, and I thought, well, that's kind of sad. He can't even get anybody or his brother to sit next to him. I think there's a real good chance of that. I think
He's got to have an epiphany.
because what
of
he's had
sorts.
to do based on what happened last year, how he got himself into trouble, and that he's just gone underground this year. I mean, we never hear him. That I really believe that Dick might decide that the best thing for him to do is be the owner and get him the hell out of the way and get him back to having a Kelly McGregor type.
Okay, I think what you say makes a lot of sense, but I don't think he'll do it. Even if they lose 95 games, I don't think they'll do it. And the reason I believe that is we do know Dick Monfort is loyal to a fault. I think he wants to give Jeff Bridich a real chance to do the job. And if you're going to hire a president, somebody who's a baseball guy, then that baseball guy's going to want to hire his own GM. And there's too many moving parts for Dick Monfort to deal with.
And I'd like to see him hire a president with a baseball background, not a Kelly McGregor type. As much as I like Kelly,
but
he was more of an administrator than he was a baseball person.
But at least that kept the ownership. He was the liaison between the ownership.
Buffer. Yeah.
So,
all right, last
that's
question.
what I meant. That might be the only chance, Mark, just to do it, is to get a guy that is not a baseball guy.
Okay, hear you.
All right, last
Think about
question.
that.
You got 2.5 hours, 3 hours to kill tonight. You going to watch Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore?
Caddyshack, not even close. I'm not even close. I'd take Caddyshack over Happy Gilmore. I'd take it over Animal House. Yes, so.
Don't say that.
Okay, so I'm changing the question. But Caddyshack, Happy Gilmore, not even close.
Happy Gilmore is remembered for one scene.
The Bob Barker scene?
Yeah, that's silly. That's the only thing it's remembered for. Caddyshack, I'll tell you what I watched.
2-minute warning.
Do you ever see when it's the 25th anniversary, or now we're coming up on like the 35th anniversary? I watch those shows where they interview the people like 25 years later. And all the stories about that and how that golf course, I actually went to that golf course at a Super Bowl. It's at the end of the runway in Fort Lauderdale.
Nice.
So if you're ever going there, Caddyshack.
I'll make it unanimous. Caddyshack. I mean, the one-liners are all over the place. Only a half step behind Animal House, but a half step behind Animal House.
Bill Murray was brought in.
I didn't think Happy Gilmore was that funny, guys. I'm sorry.
Bill Murray was brought in for 3 hours, and they said, just go over and play the groundskeeper.
Yeah.
And they kept him for 2 days, and he did all of his stuff in like 5 hours and left. And he's the star of the entire movie.
Well, him and the Gopher.
The Gopher wasn't even part of the movie.
Four
Did
on
you
the
know
floor.
that?
What'd they do?
That's
they
afterward.
CGI it in?
No, they did that in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah?
Like 6 months later because they had no show, and the Gopher was the transition.
He probably wasn't available when they did the actual
So
film.
the Gopher was never at that golf course. It was always in Los
just made
Angeles.
a joke. The Gopher wasn't available
He had another project?
when they were. He was doing something else at the time.
Four
on the floor.
Spielberg.
Brought to you by Citywide Banks. It's a family-owned, Colorado-focused business bank. They have a dozen locations, Denver and Boulder. There is one near you. They've got a lot of services your business could use, and they support a lot of charities around Colorado. So do your banking where we do our banking at Citywide Banks.